It was around 11:30 p.m. when Aaron, his wife Emily, their 6-year-old daughter Chloe, and Aaron's younger brother Kyle were finally driving down the winding forest road after a weekend camping trip in the Black Ridge Hills of Montana. The plan had been simple: disconnect, hike, fish, and enjoy nature for 3 days. But they'd lost track of time on the last evening, and by the time they packed up and left, the surrounding hills had gone completely dark. No stars, no moon, just thick trees and a narrow 2-lane road, barely visible beyond the car's headlights. The kind of darkness that swallowed everything beyond the edge of your vision. Kyle sat in the back, with Chloe asleep on his lap, while Emily leaned on the passenger side window, tired but awake. Aaron gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual. He wasn't scared yet, but something about the silence around them felt wrong. Usually you'd hear crickets or wind, even at night, but the woods felt still, too still. "Did you hear that?" Emily suddenly asked, breaking the quiet. Aaron turned his head slightly. "Hear what?" "Something outside," she said. "Like whispering." Kyle frowned from the back seat. "I thought I heard something too, but it was probably the wind or some animal." Aaron nodded. "Yeah, probably just the woods playing tricks." But he didn't believe that. Not really. They kept driving. A few miles ahead, the road curved sharply and past an old, unused ranger station, just a decaying wooden cabin barely visible from the road. As they passed it, Chloe stirred suddenly in her sleep and whispered, "There's someone in the trees." Everyone froze. Aaron glanced in the rearview mirror. "What did she say?" Kyle shook his head, pale. "She's asleep. I think she's talking in her dreams." But Chloe's eyes were now open. She looked straight out the side window into the dark trees and whispered again, this time louder, "He's walking with us now." Aaron slammed on the brakes. The tires screeched as the car stopped dead in the middle of the empty road. No cars ahead, none behind, only darkness and the eerie sound of their own breathing. Emily turned to Chloe. "Baby, what did you see?" Chloe didn't answer. She was staring straight at the forest. Kyle rolled down the window an inch and leaned out. "Hello?" he called. "Is someone there?" No reply. But that's when they all heard it. Something stepping in the woods. No animal. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. Just past the tree line on the passenger side of the road. Thump, thump, crunch. It walked parallel to their car, pacing, matching their position, but they couldn't see anything. Aaron slammed the car back into gear. "We're getting the hell out of here." The car took off down the road, tires spinning in gravel. They didn't stop to look back, but even as the forest blurred past, the feeling didn't leave. It only got worse. A mile later, Kyle whispered, "It's still with us." Aaron glanced into the rearview mirror again and saw it. A figure standing in the middle of the road behind them. Pale, long arms, watching. It hadn't been there before. Emily saw it too. What the hell was that? Nobody had answers, but Chloe, calm and matter-of-fact, said something that made their blood run cold. "He wants to follow us home." Aaron didn't say a word. He just pressed harder on the gas pedal. The SUV surged forward, engine growling, tires thumping over cracks in the old road. The forest on both sides seemed to lean in closer, the darkness thicker now, like the trees themselves were closing in. Nobody talked for a minute. Then Chloe broke the silence again. "He's running now." Emily turned around fast. "What did you say?" Chloe, still wide-eyed and calm, said it again. "He's running behind us. He doesn't like when people see him." Kyle slowly turned and looked out the back window. It was too dark to see anything. But then the brake lights briefly illuminated the road behind. and something flashed in the red glow. Not clearly, just movement. Something on all fours, or crouched, darting along the side of the road, just out of reach of the light. Kyle recoiled. Jesus, I saw it. There's something out there. Aaron gripped the wheel tighter. We're almost to the highway, 10 more miles. But the road ahead was still winding and narrow. No phone signal, no lights, just endless woods and the sense that they were no longer alone. Suddenly a loud slap hit the rear windshield. Emily screamed. Everyone turned in unison. Nothing was there, but there were handprints on the glass. Long, pale handprints, as if something had slapped the back window and then vanished. Aaron swerved the car slightly, adrenaline kicking in. Hold on! From the left, in the trees, a figure appeared just within the headlight range. Not a person, not really. Too tall, limbs too long. Its head cocked unnaturally sideways like it was listening. Then it darted out of sight faster than anything human. Chloe covered her ears and started crying, whispering, "Don't look at him. That's what he wants." Aaron shouted, "What are you talking about? What is it?" But Chloe just shook her head and cried harder. Then the radio turned on, by itself. Static, then a voice, male, hoarse, like it had been dead a long time. "Stop the car," it said. "Let me in." Kyle lunged forward and yanked the radio dial, but it wouldn't shut off. "Let me in." Emily reached over and turned off the entire dashboard console. Silence. The air inside the car grew cold, freezing. Everyone could see their breath, like they were suddenly in a walk-in freezer. Kyle said, "Is the heat still on?" Aaron checked. It was, full blast, but the vents were blowing ice-cold air. Then from the back, a sound under the car, like something had climbed onto it. Thud, creak. Emily spun around. "Kyle, check Chloe's window. Is it still locked?" Kyle reached across, locked. But then Chloe said something that made his hands go cold. "He's already in." Kyle turned slowly and saw moisture forming on the inside of the window, in the shape of a face. Breath, fog, from something breathing inches from him. The lights flickered, the engine sputtered, the SUV jerked to a stop on its own. Everything went dark. No engine, no lights, no sound, just breathing, right next to Kyle's ear. Kyle screamed and lunged away from the window, clawing at the door handle. "It's in here! It's in the damn car!" he shouted, but the locks were dead. None of the buttons worked. Aaron tried to start the engine. Nothing, not even a click. Then Chloe, eyes wide and eerily calm, whispered again, almost in a trance, "He just wants someone to see him. Just one of us." Suddenly the headlights blinked on for half a second, just enough to illuminate a face pressed to the inside of the windshield. Not a man, not even close. Its skin was ashen, pulled tight verbone. No lips, just blackened gums and jagged teeth. Its eyes, deep bottomless pits that didn't reflect light, locked directly with Aaron's. Then the lights died again, and the screaming started. From outside, from inside, from under the car. The SUV rocked violently, like something massive was slamming into it from every direction. The sound of claws on metal, hands pounding on the roof, something scraping underneath, pulling wires, tearing into the chassis. Emily was sobbing, curled into a ball in the front seat. Kyle tried to open a window. It rolled down. "We can get out," he yelled, but Chloe, still whispering, stopped him. "If you leave, he follows, forever." Aaron had lost it. What the hell is this? Who the hell is he? Chloe didn't blink. He was buried in these woods, wrongfully, 100 years ago. His body was never found, only his rage. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the rocking stopped. Silence. The engine blinked back to life. The lights came on. Everyone was frozen. Aaron, breathing hard, turned the key. The engine started. He didn't wait. He floored it. The SUV tore down the road, gravel spraying, headlights cutting through the trees. Nobody spoke for a full minute. Then Emily said, "Did we just survive that?" Kyle checked the back seat. Chloe had passed out, or fainted. He gently shook her, and she stirred. Aaron kept his eyes on the road, and then, finally, they saw the highway ahead. Paved, bright, safe. They pulled onto it like escaping a nightmare, everyone in stunned silence. For a moment it seemed over, until Kyle glanced at the rearview mirror and saw a pale, long-fingered hand reaching out from the trunk, just for a second, then gone. That night, after they reached home, and everyone tried to rationalize what had happened, Chloe didn't speak much. But before leaving, she turned to Aaron and said, "He followed someone. We just don't know who yet." To this day, they don't drive through those hills, and every few months, Aaron wakes up in a cold sweat, hearing something whisper at his window, "Let me in." It was late October, 2018, a cold, rainy Thursday night in rural Ohio. Most people were either asleep or tucked away in their homes, fireplaces crackling. The roads, especially the backcountry ones, were all but deserted. That's exactly where James found himself. A long stretch of highway between Lancaster and Logan, winding through endless woods, fog crawling low along the asphalt. James was 29 at the time, a delivery driver for a medical supply company. His last drop-off had run late, a mix-up at a small nursing home, and now he was trying to make it back home to Columbus before midnight. He hated these back roads, especially at night. No streetlights, no houses for miles, just the sound of his tires rolling over wet gravel and the occasional hoot of an unseen owl. About 45 minutes into the drive, his GPS lost signal. Typical. He figured he knew the route well enough, so he kept going. That's when he saw her. At first it looked like just a shimmer on the side of the road, but as his headlights cut through the mist, he saw a girl, maybe early 20s, standing alone, soaked to the bone, hair plastered to her face. She wore a white hoodie and jeans and had no umbrella, no bag, just standing there in the rain with one thumb out. James wasn't the kind of guy to pick up strangers, especially not at that hour, but something about her looked wrong. Not dangerous, not threatening, just out of place. He slowed down, rolled down the passenger window a crack. "You okay?" he asked. The girl nodded slowly. "Can you take me home?" Her voice was barely audible over the rain. He hesitated. She didn't look hurt, but she was trembling, teeth chattering. Against his better judgment, he unlocked the door. She climbed in silently, cold as ice, soaked clothes dripping onto the seat. "Where do you live?" James asked. She stared straight ahead for a few seconds, then muttered, "Just past the covered bridge." He knew the one. About 6 miles down, old wooden bridge everyone said was haunted, a local urban legend. He didn't believe in that crap, of course, but still, the hairs on his neck stood up. The ride was dead silent. The only sound was the wipers thumping across the windshield and her occasional shivering. He tried to make small talk, asked her name if she was okay, but she didn't answer, just sat there like a statue. As they approached the bridge, James slowed. The wooden structure loomed in the dark like a gaping mouth. He could hear the rain get louder on the roof of the car as they passed under it. When they reached the other side, the girl suddenly turned her head toward him and said, "It's just down this road on the left." James followed her direction, turning onto a dirt path that led to a small clearing surrounded by woods. An old farmhouse stood there, barely visible in the moonlight. The girl pointed. "That's it." He pulled up to the edge of the driveway. "You want me to walk you to the door?" She shook her head. "Number, thank you." James nodded. "Take care, all right?" She opened the door, stepped out, and walked up toward the house. He watched until she reached the porch, but she never did. One moment she was walking, and the next, gone. Vanished. He blinked, leaned forward, wiped the fog off the inside of the windshield. No trace of her. No figure. No movement. Nothing. Just the rain, the trees, and the old house in the dark. James sat frozen in the driver's seat, eyes locked on the empty path where the girl had just been walking. The rain had intensified now, tapping insistently on the roof like fingers drumming from above. He leaned forward, squinting, hoping maybe she'd just gone around the side of the house, but that didn't make sense. She was headed straight toward the front porch just seconds ago. He rubbed his eyes, then stepped out of the car. Cold rain slapped his face immediately. He left the engine running and jogged through the muddy driveway up toward the house, shoes sloshing with each step. The farmhouse looked ancient, boards weathered, windows dark. He climbed the 3 creaking steps onto the porch. Avoiding a loose board, he barely noticed in time. He knocked. Once, twice, nothing. He knocked louder. "Hello? Is everything all right?" Still silence. Not even the sound of movement inside. James tried the door. It was unlocked. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a hallway shrouded in shadows and dust. The smell of rot and wet wood hit him like a punch to the gut. He called out again. No answer. He hesitated, then stepped inside, water dripping from his jacket onto the warped wooden floor. He pulled out his phone and switched on the flashlight. The beam cut across old furniture covered in white sheets, cobwebs hanging from corners like curtains. The place hadn't been lived in for years, maybe decades. No way someone just walked in here. He moved room by room, living room, kitchen, a hallway leading to stairs. Each step creaked under his weight. Upstairs, a door stood slightly ajar. He pushed it open and found a bedroom, pale moonlight filtering through a cracked window. The air was still. But on the bed, something caught his eye. A photograph in a frame. He walked over, lifted it. A family, a man, woman, and a young girl. The girl in the photo was wearing a white hoodie and jeans. James's stomach dropped. It was her. He put the photo down and backed away slowly. Something about the room felt colder now, heavier. The door behind him creaked. Not from the wind, from movement. He turned around fast. Nothing there. His nerves were fried. He practically ran down the stairs and burst out the front door, slipping slightly in the mud as he got back to the car. He slammed the door shut, locked it, and took a deep breath. "She's not real," he whispered to himself. She couldn't be. But then he saw it, on the passenger seat. A single, wet footprint, small, like from a woman's shoe. Right where she had been sitting. He stared at it, chest pounding. It was impossible. The seat had been dry since she left. He looked back up at the house. Still dark, still silent. He peeled out of the driveway and flew down the road, adrenaline pumping, heart in his throat. All he wanted now was to get the hell out of those woods. But the road felt longer than before, like it was stretching unnaturally, taking him nowhere. Trees blurred past, the fog thickening, his headlights barely slicing through it. He glanced at his phone, still no signal. Then, in the rearview mirror, something moved. He checked it again. Nothing. And then, from the back seat, a whisper. "Thank you." He jerked the wheel, swerving slightly. "Who's there?" Silence. He spun around. The back seat was empty, but the rear windshield was fogged, and drawn on the inside, with a finger, were 5 words: "Don't drive past the bridge." James's heart thundered in his chest as his eyes locked onto the chilling message scrawled in the fog on the inside of the rear windshield: "Don't drive past the bridge." He was too stunned to react immediately. The message slowly started to fade as the defroster kicked in, but the words burned into his mind like a warning straight from the grave. "What the hell is happening?" he muttered to himself, gripping the wheel tighter, and then headlights. Not his own, another pair up ahead. A flickering streetlight above barely illuminated the outline of a wooden bridge. It looked ancient, soaked in rain, the kind of bridge that groaned when any weight was put on it. James slammed the brakes, tires screeching slightly in the wet gravel, stopping just feet away from the bridge's entrance. The message: "Don't drive past the bridge." Was it a hallucination, a trick of the mind? Maybe he was exhausted. Maybe this whole night was some fever dream brought on by stress and bad coffee. But then he saw her, in his rearview mirror. The girl in the white hoodie was standing in the middle of the road, barefoot, soaked, eyes wide, and bleeding from the mouth. She didn't scream. She didn't move. She just stared. James felt like the air was being sucked out of the car. He turned around. She was gone. Again. He looked back at the bridge. One way forward. He swallowed his fear and slowly pressed the gas. The tires crunched forward, creeping toward the old wooden planks of the bridge. Just as the front wheels touched the wood, his radio crackled to life. "James." His hands clenched. That voice, it wasn't his radio. It wasn't even connected. It was off. "You were warned?" His headlights flickered. Then the engine died. "Come on," he begged, turning the key. Nothing. The bridge groaned beneath the car. Then slowly, ever so slowly, the car began to roll forward, on its own. "No, no, no!" He yanked the emergency brake. It didn't stop. The car kept moving, like something was pulling it, dragging it across the bridge. And then, from behind the car, he heard dozens of footsteps, wet bare feet on wood. James turned his head in one slow, terrified motion. They were there. 10, maybe 15 figures. All looked like the girl. Some had blood streaming from their eyes. Some had broken limbs twisted at unnatural angles. Others were missing parts of their faces. But they all wore the same expression: blank, hollow sorrow. He screamed, jumped into action, fumbling with the ignition. The car finally coughed and roared to life. Without thinking, he slammed it into reverse, tires spinning wildly on the slick wood as he backed off the bridge. And the moment he cleared it, they vanished, all of them, just gone. No figures, no girl, no sound. He sat there, gasping for air, soaked in sweat and rain, the car idling, headlights facing the now empty bridge. It looked normal, as if nothing had happened. But James knew what he saw. He knew he had been pulled into something old, something not human. Maybe a curse, maybe a loop, maybe something that punished those who ignored warnings from the dead. The next morning, with daylight peeking through the trees, James found the nearest diner and stumbled inside, looking like hell. An old man behind the counter stared at him and asked, "You all right, son?" James didn't answer. He just sat down. The waitress, pouring him coffee, looked at him strangely and asked, "You go through Bell Creek last night?" James hesitated, then nodded. The old man muttered, "Poor fool." "What's that supposed to mean?" James asked, voice dry and cracked. "There's a bridge out there. Folks say it's cursed. A girl died there in '96. Car accident. She tries to warn people before the others get 'em." James stared at him. What others? The man didn't blink. The ones who didn't listen. I grew up in rural Nebraska, in a town so small, you could drive through it in under 5 minutes and still hit every stop sign twice. Everyone knew everyone's business, and secrets didn't last long. Except for one. The story I'm about to tell you is something I've never shared out loud, and the few people who know about it refuse to talk. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's denial, but something was living in the cornfields outside of our town, and one summer night, I saw it. It was July of 2009, the hottest summer I can remember. My friend Kyle had just gotten his license, and we were the usual dumb teenagers, reckless, bored, and constantly trying to scare each other. Our idea of fun was driving down back roads at night with no headlights, daring each other to knock on the door of the creepy silo on Miller's farm, or playing flashlight tag near the edges of the cornfields. That night, it was me, Kyle, his cousin Sam, and my younger brother, Dylan. We'd gone out after midnight, driving Kyle's rusty old pickup down dirt roads while blasting metal and laughing at our own jokes. Eventually, we ended up parked on the side of County Road 14, right beside a massive cornfield that stretched for miles. Kyle turned off the engine, and we all got out to stretch. The air was thick with humidity, and you could hear the crickets buzzing louder than our voices. There was no moon, just black sky and stars, and the stalks of corn rustled gently in the wind. Sam, always the bold one, said, "Bet none of you have the guts to go in." We all looked at each other, smirking. "I'll go," I said. "What's the dare?" He grinned and pulled a cheap plastic lantern out of the truck bed. "Go 10 rows deep, stand there for 5 minutes, then come back." It didn't seem like a big deal. It's just corn, right? I took the lantern, flicked it on, and made my way between the tall stalks. The plants were taller than me, probably over 7 feet, and the leaves scratched at my arms as I pushed through. After about 10 rows, I stopped, turned off the lantern to make it creepier for myself. Stupid move, I know. And just stood there in the dark. The sound of the field was off. At first, it was just the usual wind and bugs. But then the wind stopped. The bugs stopped too. It was like the entire world hit mute. The air felt colder, like the temperature had dropped 10 degrees in seconds. And then I heard it. Snap. A dry, brittle sound, like someone stepping on a dead twig just a few feet to my right. "Okay, guys, real funny," I called out, assuming one of them had followed me in. No answer. Snap, crack, rustle. It was moving. Something was in there with me. The sound wasn't random. It circled me. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned the lantern back on and pointed it toward the noise. Nothing, just corn. And then the light flickered, and I swear to God, in that flicker, I saw a shape between the stalks. It was tall, way taller than me or any of the guys. Gaunt, pale. Its head looked wrong, like it was stretched or twisted. Its arms hung lower than they should have, and the legs bent backwards, like a deer. It didn't move like a person. It moved like something pretending to be one. I didn't wait. I bolted, crashing through the rows, not caring how bad the leaves whipped my face. I could hear it chasing me, not with heavy footsteps, but a gliding, slithering sound, as if it barely touched the ground. The sound was inhuman, clicking, low, rasping breaths, and a noise like wet fabric slapping together. I burst out of the cornfield, fell onto the gravel, and scrambled toward the truck. The others were already freaking out, yelling, "What the hell happened?" I couldn't speak. I just pointed, and then we heard it. A loud, horrible shriek. Not a scream, something primal, something wrong, like a pig being strangled underwater. We all turned and saw the corn sway violently, like something was rushing toward us. And then, just as fast, it stopped. Dead silence. Kyle started the truck, and we were out of there in seconds. No one talked the entire drive home. The next day, I woke up expecting texts from Kyle or Sam, some joke or meme to lighten what happened. But there was nothing. Total silence. Around 2 p.m., I finally called Kyle. "Dude, I'm not talking about it," he said immediately. "You saw it too, didn't you?" He hung up. Sam didn't return my messages either. And Dylan, my little brother, he wouldn't even look me in the eyes when I brought it up. He just muttered, "I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything," like he was trying to convince himself more than me. But here's the part that still haunts me. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept hearing sounds outside my window. I live on the second floor, and there's nothing but open fields behind our house. Around 3 a.m., I finally worked up the courage to look. There, in the distance, just beyond the edge of the field, I saw something standing, no, leaning, against the last row of corn. It was too far to see clearly, but I swear it was watching me. I closed the blinds and didn't sleep the rest of the night. Things got worse fast. Kyle stopped showing up at school altogether. His parents claimed he was sick, but a week later they moved out of town without a word. Sam's cousin said Sam was having episodes and refused to go outside, and Dylan started sleepwalking, something he'd never done in his life. One night, I found him standing in our backyard at 2:30 a.m., facing the cornfield. When I touched his shoulder, he screamed so loud my dad came running out with a baseball bat. But Dylan didn't remember any of it. He just kept whispering, "It's in the rows. It wants someone." I started doing research, digging into town records, folklore, anything I could find. That's when I came across something that chilled me to my core. In the local library's archives, I found a series of missing persons reports from the 1970s and 80s, all within a few miles of County Road 14. Teenagers, mostly, all last seen near the cornfields. The most disturbing one was from 1982, a kid named Jeremy Klein. His younger brother, the one who reported him missing, claimed Jeremy went into the cornfield on a dare and never came out. The cops searched the field for 3 days. Nothing. Not a footprint, not a shoe. Just rows of corn. I kept reading, and something stood out in almost every case. Witnesses describing a tall, pale figure, or a shape with limbs that bent the wrong way. One woman even described it as looking like a marionette made of bones and leather. I asked the librarian if she knew anything about those reports. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "There are places you don't go around here after dark, son." The corn remembers. I don't know what that meant, but it stayed with me. One night, exactly 2 weeks after the cornfield incident, I woke up to the sound of footsteps, slow, heavy, on the roof. At first I thought it was a raccoon or a bird, but then I heard a dragging sound, like something was pulling itself across the shingles. I stayed frozen, barely breathing. The sound circled above me, then stopped, directly over my bed. I swear I felt the ceiling buckle slightly, like something heavy was crouching up there. Then came the tapping. Tap, 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 right above my head. I sat there, tears in my eyes, waiting for it to end. After what felt like hours, the tapping stopped. The sound faded away, and morning eventually came. I checked the roof that day. There were deep, ragged scratch marks across the shingles, like something had tried to claw its way in. That night, I convinced my parents we needed to stay with my aunt in Lincoln for a while. I told them I was worried about Dylan's sleepwalking, but really, I just wanted out. We stayed there for over a month. We came back in late October, just before Halloween. The corn had been harvested by then, and the fields were bare, flattened stumps and dried soil as far as the eye could see. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. It wasn't. One night I was watching TV downstairs when Dylan came running into the room, pale and shaking. He kept saying, "It was in my room." It was looking at me from the corner. It had no eyes. I ran upstairs with my dad, but there was nothing there, just an open window. We lived in a 2-story house, no ladder, no trees nearby. No way anyone could have climbed up to that window. After that, we had the house blessed. My mom brought in a priest. I didn't believe in that stuff before, but after what we'd seen, I was willing to try anything. For a while, things went quiet. No footsteps, no scratching. Dylan stopped sleepwalking. Even Kyle messaged me one night. Just a short text. "Do you ever feel like it followed us?" I didn't reply. A few months passed. Life started to feel normal again. And then one foggy night in early January, my dad asked me to help him with the trash. We rolled the bins down to the edge of the driveway, right near the field. That's when I saw it again. At first I thought it was just mist, but then I noticed something standing in the field. Tall, impossibly thin, motionless. Even from a distance I could tell it wasn't human. It had limbs that were too long, a head that sat too low on its neck, and skin that looked stretched, almost torn. It didn't move. It just watched. I blinked, and it was gone. My dad didn't see anything. Said it was just fog playing tricks, but I know what I saw. Last week, something worse happened. Dylan went missing. One minute he was upstairs playing video games. The next, nothing. We searched the whole house, the yard, the neighborhood. Cops were called. Amber Alert. Helicopters. No sign. Then they found his footprints, leading straight from the backyard into the field. The corn's been gone for months, but the footprints didn't stop. They just ended in the middle of that empty, barren field. No struggle, no drag marks, just gone. And here's the most terrifying part. They weren't alone. Beside Dylan's were another set of prints, deep, long, and spaced impossibly far apart. Like something had been walking beside him the whole time, or leading him. It's been 2 weeks. They've called off the search. They think he ran away, but I know better. I know the cornfield took him. And some nights, when the wind's blowing just right, I still hear it. The sound of something moving across the roof. Tap, tap, tap. And I know it's not done yet.